This is WOLFpak Live. I am your host, Wendy Fortino, and I am joined by two amazing guests. I'm going to introduce them first, and then we're going to dive right in. How does that sound? We have, you're like, great. We have first.
Dave can't do this, but I'll do the honorary.
Oh, he will. He will. If he doesn't already, he'll have one. So, yes.
Everyone gives Lee free shit all the time. You know, I thought I got a lot of Lee gets the most free shit of anyone I know.
I'll take care of you, Dave. Don't worry. Okay.
All right.
We have, first of all, we'll introduce Lee. So he needs no introduction, but this is the legendary bodybuilding icon known for his incredible biceps, incredible triceps, his long history in being a phenomenal bodybuilder, and his controversial, shall we say, reputation, which we love him for. The one and only Lee Priest. How are you, Lee?
Good. You could have just said misunderstood, would have covered it a lot better.
Understood.
I wanted to clarify. He also has a fully intact gallbladder too. Just for those who don't know that.
But my heart's failing. I got my heart test results. My heart's given out now. So.
Our hearts all give out as we age. I mean, every day a little bit more, right? Making light of that, which is there's no light to be made of that, but last but not least, we have the one and only, so honored to have him here, a wealth of knowledge. He's been in the industry for a very long time. He provides contest coverage. He updates everyone on the news. I love following him. The one and only Dave Palumbo. Woo!
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
How are you, Dave?
Very good. I have to imagine that Lee, are you on life support right now, or what? I mean, I know that
I showed you my heart test results. I'm on the way out, so you just make sure you do a nice eulogy for me.
I can't even get him to do one of my shows, and he's on another show that I happen to just be on at the same time. I figured that this must be is this like your swan song, your last show of all time?
I did serious and silliness the other day. I did muscle discord before that, so I'm just doing the rounds before I fall off the perch. So all the people can say, I can't believe it. We just had him on the show yesterday, and now he's dead.
Lee, no.
Wendy and I will do a true tribute obituary show to you next week. I promise.
Well, I'm already thinking about that because my new documentary is coming out. Thinking that thing's going to come out just when I'm dead, and it's going to be like this big eulogy bloody thing.
It'll be great. It'll raise the importance of it.
The sales will go through the roof, but I won't be here.
Hey, Lee, I can't see your beautiful face. Can you scooch to the right a little bit?
My face.
Yeah, scooch to the right just a little bit.
This way, that way.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. That way.
Yeah, there we go. Now we see the whole thing. Yes.
I was trying to spare you all from that.
There we go. Let's just start off. I have a surprise for both of you. Today we're gonna talk about the evolution of bodybuilding. I want to hear your opinions. We're going to talk a little bit about the lineup from last year, this year. But before we do, I want to start off by showing a video of Dave, a tribute to Dave.
Not that video in the hotel room, is it?
No.
I feel when I enter a show, if I'm going to win my weight class as a heavyweight, no one's going to beat me in the overall because I'm going to be in the best condition of anyone. And I don't see how, if I weigh in at 258 pounds, that the least someone could be is the most someone could be is 58 pounds less than me at 198 pounds. And I don't see how they can give up that much muscle and still beat me. Although it's been done before, I feel that the heavyweight will be the most successful as a professional, as well as should win top honors in most national shows, I'd say.
And the heavyweights are on stage. This is what we've been waiting for. Dave Palumbo, 27 years old. He's up 33 pounds, he says, Sean, in 1 year.
Look at that head of hair, Lee.
He's doing. He says he got into bodybuilding to look good at the beach.
Did they have video cameras back when you were 27?
This guy is a monster. 258 pounds for a contest of this size.
This is when bodybuilding was actually on ESPN.
We asked him about his appearance in the movie Batman Forever.
probably about 8 months ago, I got a little stint filming in the new Batman Forever movie. And I was in one of the hoodlums in Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Faced gang. And we get to go around beating up people and the like. I guess perfect part for me, right?
He's not beating up nobody. This guy is a former medical student. He's got a lot of brains behind all of that, Braun.
This is when Sean Ray still liked me, yeah.
I was going to say, Sean gave a nice compliment there.
He did. He gave you a lot of nice compliments.
Yeah, he did. He didn't know me then. He didn't know me then. That's why.
Take me back to that.
Nobody really knew Sean then either, so.
No, that's true.
Take me back to that, Dave. You won that. Tell me about that experience. I want to like a little like refresh of that.
I actually lost the overall to Willie Stalling, who actually went on later that year to do the NPC Nationals and beat Jay Cutler in the overall. He was a light heavyweight, Willie, and he's still a good bodybuilder. He's still competing these days. But yeah, you know, it was the first time I had done like a big like national show, and the year before I'd done the Junior USA, and I was like 228, and I had gained 30 pounds of muscle over that it was about a year and a half time period. So I felt really confident going into that show. But the first time in like my bodybuilding lifestyle, I guess my bodybuilding life, that I said, you know what, I felt like I was like a dominant like force, and it felt good. You know, at that point you're delusional. I thought, all right, you know, I'm going to get a pro card, I'm going to do the Olympia, you know, all this stuff, and so it was a very I guess you could say innocent age I was at, and everything still felt possible. I didn't know about politics. I didn't know about supplement sponsors. I just knew that train hard, you know, show up, live your passion, compete, and you'll get rewarded. And that's that. It was that, you know, simple actually in my mindset, at least at that point.
Well, you were at 258, but you got up to 285 in your peak.
No, I was over 3. I was 315 actually. Before I dieted down for the show, I was 300, and I think I was one of the first amateurs to ever get that heavy. And I think at the time I was probably the heaviest amateur competing, you know, at a lean body weight. And it was really, I have to give credit to Dorian Yates, because when I saw Dorian Yates compete guest pose in 1993 at the Atlantic States in New York, and then go on to win that Olympia in such dominant fashion. He was like 290 on stage at the guest posing. I was like, man, that guy can do it. I can do it too, you know, because Dorian didn't particularly look like a guy who had insane genetics. He looked like one of these guys who just worked his ass off. And so it you know, once you can in your mind really believe that you can achieve something, I think it opens up a lot more doors that weren't there prior to that.
Yeah. You're like, I'm the size guy, and that's what I can outdo people on.
Right.
Just listening to Dave there saying I'm 258, someone who's 58 less. If only I was American competing in the light heavies or middleweight, Dave would be sitting there like Ronnie, they're saying, I was going to retire. This young kid, Lee Priest, beat me. I'm going to retire.
Well, you know, but that goes back, Lee, to the naivete of what I felt. I was 258. Willie Stalling was 198. So I'm like, I'm 60 pounds heavier than this guy, muscle-wise. And, you know, I wasn't. And if anything, I was probably leaner than he was. So I'm like, how could I lose to this guy? You know, so, you know, it's not, because it's just naive. I didn't know. I thought, you know, bigger, harder, win shows.
After that show, Dave, when you went back to the hotel room and you sat on the bed looking in the mirror, how long did you say, how did he win the overall? How?
No, you know what? Because it was only like one of the first big shows I did, I accepted it, and I was never a sore loser. So like I was always like so grateful that I won the heavies. I knew I was going to go to the USA in 2 weeks, which was when Phil Hernan beat Craig Titus. Yeah. And I went to that show. I thought I would place top 5. I didn't. I went up 7th at that show. But you know, it was. I was so new to it. It was like I didn't expect anything. Anything that I got was great. You know, at that point. So.
You got to be in Batman Forever. Hello. I mean, that's better than a title.
You know, that was fun. I'll tell you why, because all the scenes that we filmed in New York were exterior scenes, and they were done at night. So we would show up on the set at around 6 p.m. and we wouldn't leave till 6 a.m. And they would pay us I think they were paying us like $600 a night or something like that. And they were feeding us. They had like a craft service. All I did was eat the entire time I was there. I didn't do anything. I just ate. No one else was eating. Jimmy the Bull was there, and Jimmy doesn't eat anything. He ate like one hot dog the whole time he was there. I must have had like 5 meals. I was bringing home food with me, when I left. It was I loved it. It was great.
Well, that's right. That's where I told Dave we could have met on that movie, because I think Christian Boving, who he was one of the henchmen doing that.
Yeah.
One time they said, Lee, you got to come up to Joel Schumacher and that come up. They were doing the audition Bane for that movie. And
that's right. Yeah.
And then Joel Schumacher got Christian. He calls me up and he's like, Lee, I just want to let you know, you'd probably kill yourself if you knew how close it was. It came down to me and Jeep Swenson for Bane, and they chose Jeep only because acting with Uma Thurman, Jeep was taller, so they picked him over me. But Joel Schumacher knew I liked Superman, so he brought me up to Warner Brothers and took me down when they were filming Lois and Clark with Dean Cain and that. So
no way.
So
Wendy, let me tell you the true story. I'll tell you the true story. Joel Schumacher is the gayest of gay guys. Nothing against gay people. He probably thought he was on a date with Lee when he took him to Universal Studios. He probably loved Lee. Because Lee was like a good-looking young guy.
If I had known he was that gay, I would have been Bane. Don't you worry. I would have. He's
like, Lee is like, it's not the beauty, it's the booty. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Like, hey, Joel Schumacher like, look at this hot guy I got with me on the set here.
I'll be doing the old saying, to get ahead, you got to give it. Lee Priest is Bane.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Well, I did get to be the Hulk, so at least I got to go to George Lucas's studio and do all the body work for the Hulk movie and video game. So
that's so cool. Well, I mean, before the social media generation, where like so many people, you see muscle everywhere now. It was a lot more rare, like in the 90s, I would say, to see somebody who has that much muscle. And when you're doing a movie and you want somebody that looks like that, it's not like you can just, go on Instagram and like do a search on like muscle guys. And now you can do that. You know what I mean? So
they didn't have CGI back then, Wendy. So they were using real actors. Like Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk. I did a couple stints as the Incredible Hulk on the Conan O'Brien show, believe it or not. They were like comedy skits, but I would come in, they would paint me green for the whole day. I'd hang out there and and I was on there all the time. But once these Marvel movies came out, the recent ones with all the CGI, they used Lee as like his body as like a an image to try to have Hulk. But they didn't use Lee, unfortunately, because they had the ability.
What they did was, when they did it, they had like all these cameras around me, 15 cameras. So when the Hulk, I had to do the running, jumping. When he's fighting the Hulk dogs, I had like sandbags and them together. I'm pulling on metal things, like when he's ripping. Pretty much all the movements he did, they filmed me doing that, and then they download that into a computer and then built it from that. Ang Lee, the director. He had on one of those motion suits, with all the dots on it, but that was too animated. And because I was in contest shape and really lean, you could see all the muscles moving. That's why they wanted to capture the way the muscles move when you picked up stuff. So,
oh man, I wish I had a video of that. Man.
Well, the funny thing was that whenever I train, I'm quiet. I never make a noise. Joe Gold would tell people, "Why are you making that noise? He's over there squatting 600. He doesn't make a noise." So when I'm doing all the Hulk stuff, nothing against, like I said, the producer was as fruity. His probably worse than Schumacher. Lee, stop. Really, really can't. Lee, I can tell you something, because I'm being quiet. It's like, Lee,
you enjoyed it.
I need you to think the Hulk, be the Hulk. He's like, I need you to channel the Hulk and like yell and that. I'm like, okay.
See, I love doing. See, I loved doing that. You're very quiet.
I'm quiet. That's why I gave up karate, because I hated yelling. So now I'm doing the scenes. I pick something up and I yell, and all of a sudden this producer's like, "Oh, that's it, Lee. That's it. You're the Hulk. You're the Hulk."
Okay, so show us your best. Show us your best Hulk.
No, I'm not doing it. Just that.
Come on. You have all those costumes and stuff. you're into like all that crazy.
Wendy, pull up my Instagram. There's a video on there of me being as the Hulk on Conan O'Brien. You can play it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Down a little further. Keep going down. You'll see
I like putting suits and costumes on. That's different.
Okay, let me know when to stop.
He only wanted you to go.
You'll see me as the Hulk. You'll see it.
Okay. Oh, here's this one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Put the sound on. It was me as Hulk on Broadway.
Hulk not find love. Love make Hulk angry. Hulk smash love. Roar!
That's like the fucking Hulk come to Sesame Street. What the fuck?
Dave didn't make it to Hollywood. Like he didn't make the best supplement brand on the planet. Oh, we'll do a little plug. There we go. Okay. A little plug going. That's cool.
He only wanted you to show his page so it showed all the species ads. That's what he wanted.
That's good. That's really good. Oh my gosh, Dave, that is hilarious. I want to actually do want to talk more about that. Lee, I want to ask you.
I just want to thank my sponsor.
McDonald's.
You know, Lee had a free pass to eat McDonald's for a weekend
in Hawaii. For a week in Hawaii.
For a week. He fed every homeless person in Hawaii during that week.
Did you? Okay.
Oh, I was taking trays of food out the front all morning long. It was like
Lee, I have a question about McDonald's. Okay. Yeah. Why McDonald's? Because it's so expensive now. A Big Mac is like almost $20 now. Why not just go to a nice restaurant and get a hamburger? I mean, it's like
McDonald's is McDonald's. I don't want to go to a fancy restaurant where they give you a hamburger.
Wendy, it's speed. It's the speed of the
the order. You get a hamburger there. McDonald's has nuggets, a fillet of fish. It has the McFlurries. It has a variety. It's not just a hamburger. It's the going there, and
You like the smell and the vibe. You like to play in the playhouse and
I like to watch the crackheads out there in the kids' playground. Trying to
that's not weird at all. That's not weird.
I like to go into the toilet every day.
When I've had my McFlurry, I like to go into the toilet and just see what's in that hole in the wall. Sometimes you get lucky. That's
totally normal, by the way.
Wendy, for 15 years, I ate McDonald's every day. It's part of my bodybuilding regimen because I just had such a fast metabolism. Nowadays, I still go to McDonald's, but I'm going to tell you, and I don't want to be a sellout to McDonald's, but I'm actually liking Wendy's better. I've been going to Wendy's a lot lately. No pun intended your name, Wendy, but
I mean.
Wendy's, and then you got, Wendy's dad, his name's Dave. So, I mean, it's very incestuous.
I bet you get the baked potato when you go there to be healthy.
I don't. I get the French. I really like their French fries. They're really
baked potatoes at Wendy's?
Yeah,
they have baked potatoes at Wendy's.
Baked potatoes and that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
But I do the Dave's double, and I do the Dave's double with the fries, and I like their. You ever use the Diet Coke machine? They have you could pick 18 million different flavors.
Yeah.
I take they have a Seagram's ginger ale. You can get Diet ginger ale. There's 5 different Diet ginger ale flavors you can do. And I do the wine ginger ale. I love it. I'm addicted to it.
I'm getting to know you and your guilty pleasures. That's
yummy.
And you still look great. So I mean, success requires no explanation. That's
it's not for everyone. A lot of people get fat eating there every day. I don't get fat.
Right. So. Like I said,
what are you saying, Dave? What are you trying to say?
Okay, Lee, I have a question for you.
Earl Sanders might be doing heart surgery on Lee later because of all this.
Yeah, we will.
Well, I've been doing more cardio lately, and I can't understand how I've gone over 100 kilos again. It could be the McDonald's.
Lee, it's those 300-pound, 285-pound days where you were doing Kentucky Fried Chicken all day long.
Well, the funny thing is, this is how my brain works. I'm at the gym even today, and I'm on the treadmill. The treadmill's facing McDonald's, right? So I'm thinking, when I'm finished, I'm gonna walk across the car park and go to McDonald's. And I always look down, and the treadmill goes, "Oh, you've burnt 320 calories." I'm like, There's 400 I put back on. So I don't think I'm getting far ahead. I burn off 300, then I go and eat 1,000. So
There you go.
What do you get when you go there?
Breakfast, I always start off healthy. I get 6 whole eggs because you get eggs by himself. You get eggs by himself for $1 each, or $1.10 now. So you can get the plain eggs, but then I'll get the hot cakes and then some hash browns, and just that's balanced.
Okay, you just said that like as if you eat their multiple meals. You said, well, for breakfast, that's how you start your day, and then the next meal is also McDonald's, and then the next meal is also.
No, next meal later, I go to this place near my wife's work where I have teriyaki chicken and boiled rice and salad. And then, like, when I go to pick her up, then I go past McDonald's again, that fillet of fish, couple of hamburgers. Hey, it's fish. It's what are we talking about? Come on. I'm keeping these young kids employed. I'm keeping them in business.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, like I said,
now he's complaining. He's complaining about the fact that he's got 50% blockages in his coronary arteries now. So.
Yeah, I know. You can't really complain about that when now we know.
Hey, still got 50 unblocked, Dave. I can eat a bit more.
You still look good, though. I mean, for what it's worth.
I'm 52. I got 50 blockage. By the time it's 100, I'll be 100. So who cares?
There you go. You're doing the math. What are your thoughts, Lee, on your physique when you were 24? Because I found this. On you.
You ever hear of the Bruce Springsteen song "Glory Days"?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was that other Toby Keith song. What was it? What was As Good As I Once Was?
Wow. So you were only 24 here. Okay. How long had you been competing at this point?
11 years.
Look at that hair.
Wow. And so
that. No tattoos, nice look.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened? Kids, don't do drugs, kids. This is how you end up.
Yeah, you didn't have any tattoos. You were just clean cut, wholesome, no tattoos.
Someone just asked in the comments, ask Lee why he's so sensitive. I think I'm the least sensitive person out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you have a couple fans here who are trying to ruffle your feathers.
Normally people that ask that, normally they're the people I block, and they go, I said something and he blocked me. And the reason I've told people I block you because I love arguing. I love going back and forth, doing whatever. But these people just repeat the same stuff. You're a midget. You got a tattoo on your face. You're a midget. You got a tattoo on your face. It's like, if you can't come up with something new, you bore me. I'm going to block you. At least say you're banging my mother and sister or something and get video of it. It's like, entertain me. Send me the video if you are banging my mother and sister so I can watch it. Like, I don't care. It's like, come up with something new.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue into our discussion right now, which is things have changed a lot over the years because now bodybuilders are reachable, right? It's like back in like the 90s and even the early 2000s and 2010s, you couldn't just go and DM or comment on someone's photo. You had to see them in a magazine, and people just were not doing that. So things have changed and it's made things evolve in weird ways. So Dave, I'll ask you, okay, you being a part of all this evolution and seeing all this generation, right. What is your take on the culture change since social media has taken over?
I think a lot of people have trouble evolving with changes. I mean, I'll give you as an example. I worked for Muscular Development for a bunch of years, and I started their website presence. And the owner, Steve Blackman, was a genius when it came to magazine sales and magazine covers and content. And he really had trouble understanding the internet and evolving out of that magazine mindset. And I think that really limited him and ultimately led to the dissolution of the magazine as you see it now. I think once I started working there and I realized what the future was, I said, you know what, I was always very creative. So I really wanted to do TV programming. You know, we originally started on the internet. It was like some podcasts with just audio podcasts. They were like we called them radio shows essentially.
I remember.
And we evolved into TV, which I think I was one of the first people on RX Muscle to do TV programming, original programs. And we did stuff like IR Debate and Muscle in the Morning, and we did all these, Lee's show. We have all these crazy shows on there with original content. And that's what I wanted to kind of make a TV station out of it. And, then once social media came around, now we had to say, okay, and YouTube, now I had to move it off of the rxmuscle.com platform onto YouTube, then start Facebook, and then start Instagram. And you can't be afraid of the new technology that comes out, because if you do, and you stutter for like a month or two, you're behind the 8 ball now. So I think one of the things that I was able to do was because I'm an Aquarian, so I'm very creative. So I'm not afraid to go into uncharted territories and do new stuff. And that's how Lee and I got involved doing stuff together. Because I'm like, you know what? Lee is so creative too. And he really has no, he doesn't censor himself. He's fully transparent. So I got Lee and I got a lot of the guys on RX Muscle to come on board, because I knew that social media, reality type TV, open, talking about your life in a very transparent way was going to be what the internet demanded, what people demanded, the fans demanded. And so I think that's why we've been so successful for so long, actually.
That's definitely, I've seen you and everything that you've done and how you've evolved in the world of media. And I personally really look up to you, and I want to be like you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
I've taken notes, and I love what you offer the world. You filled a void that we didn't know we had in the world, and you really took off with the new era when we started getting the social media and the ability to do YouTube.
But we know what, Lee, me, John Romano, we all get in trouble a lot, because you know what? We really call it like we see it. And that's why people come to the site, because they know that no matter what, we're going to tell them the truth. We don't BS anyone. And even if I get yelled at by, the powers that be, or I get yelled at by the promoters, it happens every once in a while. And you know what? We're not going to stop what we're doing, because the fans know that if they go to RX Muscle, they're going to get the truth. And, our moniker, the truth hurts. It is what it is. But you know what?
What Dave's saying is it's mainly after I post the league show that he gets calls.
I'm experiencing that too. Ever since I kind of dove more into the world of media, it's so hard, because I don't want anyone to be mad at me, but I also want to be able to tell the truth, and I want to be able to tell my take on something. And it's trying to play 3D chess with that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
You got to just do what you got to do. And people have to understand that you're media, and that you have to cover these tough stories. And if they don't want to be friends with you, then you know what? Then so be it. Because I'm not turning my back on people. It's just that I have to call. If I don't think that, Nick Walker looks good at a show, and I say it and he gets mad at me, then I'm sorry. Then, that's not fair to me. But he can feel the way he wants. But likewise, if I compliment him a lot too, then, it's because I'm giving him real legitimate compliments.
And he can believe it.
I think a lot of people out there, like Nick, understand that, and they're okay with that. Whereas there are some people that take things very personally, and they get offended, and then they don't want to talk to you after. But usually after they retire, they wind up coming back around, and they realize, you know what? Yeah, you were just doing your job. I understand. No big deal.
Yeah. It's interesting being on both sides of the coin, right? For me, being an athlete.
You mean, Wendy, when you've posted you're going to have me on, or you've had me on, you've never had a call saying, why you got Lee on? I think that's a smart idea. You've never had those calls, Wendy?
Yeah, it makes me want to have you on even more. Are you kidding? That's like
I remember when John and I were doing the VPX show, and we spoke about everything good and bad, and we got in trouble all the time. And then Dave wanted to bring me.
There was more bad than good, unfortunately,
Dave wanted to bring me back to RX, and Dave's like, Lee, we have to do a show, but you have to be good, because I have to show to Jim and Steve before, if it gets approved, you're allowed back on. So I had to be so good and nice on this first show to get back in.
But you're such a nice person. You speak your mind, but you're also such a kind soul. I mean, you're just a big teddy bear. I don't know.
People always say to me, why do I say what I say? It's like, Dave can tell you what, what he says, I got no filter, that new documentary coming out, even Tony Doty's like, he doesn't have that filter between mouth and here, because like I said, I used to do the shows with Dave sometimes when I get ready for the gym. I'd sit there, put it on, and I'd start laughing, and my wife's like, why are you laughing at yourself? Because I said, when I do the show with Dave, I just say stuff. I said, I don't hear what I'm saying. It's not till I watch the show back I go, fuck, did I say that? Wow. I amaze myself in what I say sometimes.
If you get him in the moment, he'll say things that he never would intend to say otherwise.
I've experienced that, yes. So Lee, when you were bodybuilding, okay, you were on stage at multiple Olympias. Did you ever get, before the social media era took off, were there any areas, like were there forums or were there any places for fans to go to be able to, like, for you to be able to see like people's opinions or people say anything bad about you?
Yes, you had the two big ones back then was bodybuilding.com and getbig.com. Now, if you wanted to, even back then, you need to have thick skin to go on getbig.com, because I think since the age of 22, they always had the Deadpool. And because I used to bulk up so much, I was always near the top 2 on the Deadpool of who was going to die in bodybuilding because of I got so fat in the season. And then, that Get Big board was just full of haters half the time. But you get used to it. And like, doing it from a young age, when my mother started training when I was 17, I used to get Lee's giving his mum steroids. I'm like, I'm 17, like I'm giving my mum steroids. And then when my daughter got into it, you'd always get the stuff, I'm banging your daughter, blah, 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 and stuff. And I'd write back, that's good. You got any photos? Send me. So I just play along with it. What people say never bothers me. So they always try and have a go and stuff, but I just laugh because I never understood it. Look, I understand, there's a lot of people that don't like you on that, but I don't get it because on Instagram, Facebook, if I'm interested in cars and that, I follow that page. If I'm interested in certain bodybuilding shows, I follow it. But if I don't like someone, I don't follow them. So I don't get why these people have time to follow people they hate and all they write is hate. I'm like, haven't you got something better to do, or is it just
right? Actually, Dave, I have a question for you about YouTube, because you've been in the YouTube world for so long. And I was just talking to Chef Rush the other day about this because he had some issues with this. But do you remember when they had the thumbs down option on YouTube videos?
Right.
Along the lines of what Lee was just saying, it's kind of like, if you go to a video, why would someone specifically put thumbs down? First of all, second of all, why would they even have that feature? What are your thoughts on that feature and when they did away with it?
I think it's still there. You just don't see the thumbs down now, but you can you can still pick thumbs down. I think they did it because it
shows up as a thumbs up.
I think people would give you thumbs down because they want to see how much hate they can put on your video. You know what I mean? They would get all their buddies to do it and everything like that. I thought it was great. I thought as long as people were responding, like if they were putting a thumbs up or thumbs down, that means they're watching your video. So that'd be like a good thing. That shouldn't be a bad thing. That should be it should be telling YouTube a lot of people are engaging in this video. That's good for business,
Don't they say your haters are your biggest fans generally? Your haters are your biggest fans. So,
haters watch the video.
When I do Dave's shows, I can always guarantee you when I look in the comments, oh, Dave's got Leon again. Fuck him. I can't stand listening to him. And that. But I'm like, but here you are commenting, watching every time. It's like,
do you know that the haters, the people that give you the worst reviews, watch the videos double the amount of time that the average person watches the video that actually likes the video. So it used to happen to Howard Stern all the time, and they would ask these people, why do you watch his videos so long if you hate the show? Well, I want to see what he's going to say next. That was the answer. So so that's good for business,
It's crazy to see the impact that social media has on. So the bodybuilding division is the craziest division. There's the most on the line. There's so much that, is on the line for these athletes, and when you see, for example, the rivalry between Hottie and Derek and Samson, and you know that they all have like fans that would like die for them, you know, and a result doesn't go the way that the fans want it to go. This is something that, you know, we didn't experience before the social media era, and it's almost scary. I mean, it could get to the point where, I mean, people are getting death threats. I mean, it is a crazy world right now.
Before the Olympia, can you just check sales with the WOLFpak, you know, the backpacks? Can you just check your sales and see how many Hardy fans have brought them? Because if he doesn't win, I don't want to be in the auditorium when there's WOLFpak backpacks just sitting around under the seats, okay? Not saying anything, but
it's, you know, the fans are very much so into, you know, and then you have Ramon Dino, he has a crazy fan cult following, and you have, you know, Chris Bumstead's cult following, and we have athletes with cult followings, and you know, we get to these big shows, and it can get crazy, you know. So I want to know your thoughts on that, you know, the fan pull, and what, you know, just your thoughts on that.
I like when they have lots of fans. Like, it's good to be passionate, and there's bodybuilders I love. Like, I used to like Dorian's physique, but you know, I was honest. You know, when Dorian there that last Olympia, I think maybe he should have won because he was getting bloated, the torn biceps. So I can have a favorite, but then I can also sit back and go, okay, here's my favorite, but hey, he deserved to get beaten that day. And some people, doesn't matter who they love, they should never get beat. How could he get beat? Look at him. Look at that. Then that's, like I said, I don't get the whole threatening the guy, threatening the family, because you're up there competing. We're all up there competing. It's the judges that place them where they place them. It's not his fault that he beat that guy and this guy. So I can understand having passionate fans, but you got to ease back on the death threats and going too far. But it's like, I had fans back in the day. I probably had 7 of them, and I still bumped into one at the last Arnold Classic. He had like face tattoo, like they actually went out and got the same face tattoo, and I'm thinking to myself, man, that's a crazy dedicated fan. But then I take their name and number, because I'm thinking, if they're that crazy to go tattoo their face like mine, if I ever have a problem and I want someone dealt with, this person would do it for me. So I make sure I get their information, because I know they're nuts.
Yeah. This is Dave, this is the finals from 2023. You know, we have, you know, our heavy hitters that are coming back. We have Samson, Hottie, Derek, they're all coming back. Also, Brandon, and we have, so tell me, what were your thoughts on the 2023, the results, and then we'll dive into going into 2024.
Yeah, I thought everyone was off a little bit at especially the pre-judging. Are you? What are you doing?
Wait,
you gotta
what?
go pee?
Quickly take a pee. I'm old. It's my bladder.
Holy mackerel! You have prostate issues too at your age? You're like 6 years younger or 5 years younger than me. For God's sakes. No.
Okay,
no,
Dave, go for it.
I wanted to comment on something what you said earlier. You know, first of all, if you don't place well and the fans think that you should have, I think that is a huge. People don't realize how powerful that is, and when I mean powerful, I mean I probably became as popular as I did when I competed, not because of how well I did, but for how many times I got screwed and didn't get a pro card. And, you know, you can't discount that street credibility, because when people think that you got screwed, whether I did or not, it doesn't matter. You know, it was irrelevant.
I get it.
Whether I did or not, it doesn't matter. But the fans thought I did. The magazines liked the controversy. They put me in there all the time, and it got me guest postings. It got me supplement sponsors. It made me popular. And so I used the fact that I wasn't getting what I wanted, but yet had fan support to help promote me and make me more money in the industry. And I think that's what a lot of these bodybuilders forget to do. If you get screwed on stage, or you think you get screwed, and the fans agree with you, play it up. Don't go out there and talk bitter about the judges. Let be the people's champ. Let the fans sell you to everyone else, and then everyone else will endear themselves to you, and that's going to make you more money and make you more popular. So I think a lot of people take the negative approach to that, rather than see it as a positive and a way to market yourself even better. So I wanted to make that statement.
I always did that, because people say about my placings, "Oh, Lee, you're upset." I said, I'm not upset, because whenever I place and you hear the crowd boo and yell out bullshit and that, I said, same as Dave, I let the crowd speak for itself. And you can go back to the days where, Flex was a bit arrogant back in the day. He would even admit himself and that, and he would win a lot of shows. But then you could have people like Matarazzo, Mike Quinn. There was so many, Tom Platts back in the early days. These guys never won any big pro shows, but yet, because the crowd loved them, they were freaky, they were so approachable, they were making more money doing appearances and stuff than the actual winners of the shows. So sometimes you can win a show, but the fans might love somebody way better who might be placing fifth. But because even me, when I'd get suspended and that, it was like a thing. They like, oh, they have to be suspended, Lee, again. So all my fans would get mad, and I'd get more fan following that way just by doing nothing. So, I just played up to it. It worked good, so I didn't care.
So true. I'm going to tell you something, Dave. First of all, I can relate to that so much, because I went so much of my pro career before I finally won a show. I took so many second places. It was crazy. And you know this because you covered me a lot.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So many second places. And it was the most exciting time because everybody wanted me to win. I had so many people backing me up. And then when I finally won a show, I was like, yes. And then everybody hated me.
That's always the way it is.
All of a sudden, I was like, no. I was like, wait a minute. So it's better to be, it's crazy. It is a crazy dynamic, but let me tell you, people do root for the underdog. They want the person who is not at the top to fight for it. And then once it happens, it's like, okay, on to the next, on to the one that's like, not
people were rooting against Ronnie Coleman at the end. They couldn't wait to J1, So that
look at even Phil Heath towards the end. People were hating Phil Heath.
Yeah, they hated him. Yeah, exactly. You're right.
And that was like when I used to always I think I got second at the Ironman 5 times and that. And the year I won it, even Lonnie the day before was like, "How do you think you're going to do tomorrow?" I'm like, second. And then when they announced me first, I stood there and I looked over. I said, just check that to make sure you got it right.
How's this for motivation? Okay, kids, it's not about winning. Actually, it's better if you don't win. So go for that second place because, man, people are going to love you.
Well, I always tell people, look, it's bodybuilding. Judges are going to have, what they like. Some are going to like the symmetrical flex wheeler type and all this. Some are going to like the freakier type. And sometimes it's hard to take that out of it. It's like some people love a Ferrari. And they can look at some of these old Ferraris and go, look at that. It's beautiful. I go, that's a piece of shit. I'd rather a Lamborghini. It's the same with body types. People have what they have and like what they like. But to me, if you're up on stage and I'm up there, I know I did cardio 100%, dieted 100%, did everything 100%. I'm the best I can be that day. I never really worried about the placings. If I was up there and I was off due to something that I caused, then I'd be disappointed with myself. But if you're giving it everything, I say, don't even worry about the placings. Yes, it would be great to win, but if you gave it 100%, you got nothing to be worried about. Just take your placing and do another show and just try and improve each time. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's how you feel when you're prepared, because I think people who aren't prepared and who didn't do their homework, those are the ones that want to win the most on the day of the show, because the reward is what is the only thing they would have to lean on as recognition of hard work that wasn't there, but when you do the work and you're there and you maybe do or don't win the trophy, it's like you've already kind of earned that and you don't really need that final reward for it. But the people that haven't worked the hardest are usually the ones that get so upset when they don't win. And let's
say predictions right now. We predict who's going to win and who's going to place where, but let's take predictions right now on how many people who don't do well are going to have stomach issues. That's going to be their excuse. Food poisoning 2 days out. I was sick the night before. There's always some. No, you just weren't ready. You fucked up.
I've probably eaten more food in my entire life, my bodybuilding lifestyle than anyone else, other human being, because I had to eat so much.
I believe that.
I never got food poisoning ever.
Really?
So it's amazing when people tell me they get food poisoning. I think they're either full of shit, or I think that they got a virus and they're blaming it on food poisoning. Food poisoning is not so easy to get. I got news for you.
Took the wrong special chemical concoction the night before. That's like
that's what it's more like. Too many diuretics. That's what it usually is. Yeah. As Chris would say, the Lasix fish. Yeah, they call it.
I can't totally understand. I've never had that much muscle on my body, so I don't know. But I would imagine that, trying to fill up with an 250 to 300 pound frame would be very difficult to carb up, load up, dial in. And I don't know how more people don't have stomach issues. To be honest,
Wendy, what we're saying is we don't think that people really had stomach issues. We think
you're like, I don't buy it.
Just screwed up, and they're using that as an excuse is what's going on.
I used to always love Samir. When Samir was making his comebacks, and they'd always tell me, Bubba, I ate too many potatoes one time. And then it was another time I had potatoes, but somebody put salt on them. That's why I came in. Like Samir had every
when you're in shape, you could eat fucking dog food and still look good on stage.
Well, that was like me before the 2009 Champions, because I always figured you always look great after a show. So where was at the Beacon Theatre? Remember there's that little cafe right next door, the Beacon Cafe?
Yeah.
The day before, I was in there eating spaghetti bolognese, chocolate cake. People walking by going, aren't you competing tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm either going to look good or look like shit. So the next day, I looked probably the best I've ever looked, and I was pumped up. And even though I got fifth, the crowd was yelling bullshit, and half of them left when they announced Jay to win. But it was probably one of the best I ever looked. But mentally, though, all night I wake up every hour, and I'm like, oh, they're still there. They're still there. And you go, how many times have we all done it? You're half asleep. You go in the bathroom. You turn the light on. You're like, trying to see how you look. Like I think you're going to lose it for the night.
I don't like that full yucky feeling. I don't know. I like my stomach to feel like empty and flat. I don't know. When I first started competing, I did all the rookie mistakes, overate and everything. Realized I hated the feeling of that like overly full stuffed feeling. I hate that feeling. So
but women don't need to be super full on stage. Matter of fact, they look better when they're depleted, I think.
I used to love standing on stage when my stomach was flat, because my waist was generally get down near the 29. When I stood, I can't do it now, but I would stand on stage with my hands. I'd stand like that, and my hands would be on my hips, but my fingers would be touching in the middle. So I'd stand there like that. So like, look at these small waists, because I could hold it like that. Now
you look pretty good. Your waist looks small right now.
It's probably like 33 at the moment, but my off season used to be 45 inches, and then it would be 29 in contest shape.
Crazy.
I honestly, I feel like I love just talking to you guys about just all this stuff. I feel like we don't even need to do the bodybuilding, looking at it, talk about what's going to happen. But I personally just really want to know what you guys think. So I want to talk about this briefly. Hopefully, everybody sticks around after we post this and listen to this part. I do want to know, Dave, you started talking about the lineup and what
What I was saying is last year I felt that everyone was a little off it. And I really attributed it to that the prejudging got started very late. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of guys, missed their peak, or it just went too long, and they were starting to hold water. Everyone seemed to look better at night the next day. I had Derek winning the show, so I think they picked the right person, because I thought Hottie was a little watery compared to what he normally is. Was he still really hard? Yeah, but he wasn't like the Hottie we saw at the Arnold Classic this year, which was like, shrink wrapped, ridiculous looking. So I think he left the door open, and I think that's why the judges went with Derek. Derek's going to be bigger this year, a lot bigger. I think he's going to be very tough to beat this year. Samson, we still haven't seen peak yet. He still hasn't brought the conditioning that he needs to win a show. He was third last year. Despite that, he has a really nice structure, but in my estimation, he'll never win unless he brings the conditioning he needs to. I thought Brandon Curry really was the surprise last year, and I think it was really because a lot of the guys were off. Don't forget Nick Walker didn't do the show because he tore his hamstring. And Andrew Jack is gained 20 pounds from last year. So he's going to be a completely different bodybuilder. He was dominant last year. He looked good. This year, I think he's going to be, top 3 for sure. Yeah.
So we're talking top 3. What's your top 3 prediction?
I have Derek, Hadi, and Andrew Jack.
Nice. Derek again, you think?
Yeah, I have Derek winning.
Yeah.
What about Hunter? We had Hunter in the first call out. He just won. What show was that he just won? But he looked amazing.
Was it Italy? Was it Italy? Or?
Italy.
Yeah,
Italy.
Italy. So where do you see him? He's got a great.
I have him in the top 10. He's a hit or miss. He doesn't. Historically, he hasn't really brought it to the Olympia the way he's brought it to other shows. So we haven't really seen him peak for the Olympia, which tells me that there's a nerves issue there. I think when he gets to the big show, he gets very nervous and things go wrong. So, if I'm a betting man, I'm not going to bet with him because he's not consistent. Whereas a guy like a Nick Walker, a guy like Brandon, a guy like, Derek, a guy like Hadi, they're very consistently in shape. So if you're going to, pick guys who are going to do well, that's what you're going to do. I mean, Martin Fitzwater, I thought, edged out Nick Walker at New York Pro this year. I think he could be a new guy in the top 6. So, he's dangerous, very dangerous.
And I think that's what I like about this year's Olympia too, because, going by photos, we're seeing Derek's back looks great and that, but yet if Hadi can come in like he did at the Arnold, I think there's going to be, before we'd always see the Phil Heath, there was a dominance, Ronnie Coleman, a dominance, Dorian. Generally, if they're in a show, you'd be like, okay, it's going to take a lot to beat them. Whereas now, this year, yes, Derek's great, but like I said, if he's just a little bit off and Hadi comes in like the Arnold, Hadi could take it. If Andrew Jack comes in, he could do a Ronnie where Ronnie 97 was 9th, 98 he won it. So, I think this year's Olympia is going to be exciting for that fact that, yes, Derek is a favourite, but yet it's not set in stone. So any one of those guys, Sampson, Andrew, Derek, Hadi, any one of those could just slip in the first spot like that. And as I said, so it's going to be an interesting show where you can't actually say, okay, Derek's a definite in there because we can think that. But like I said, the Hadi shows up like the Arnold, even a touch drier, then it's going to be like, oh, okay, which way are they going to go? Or then, like we said, Sampson might nail that peak if he can get that Hadi conditioning. And then there's another thing. And then, like Dave said, you got Martin and Nick there going. They could go at it again, and who knows what happens there. So I think it's more exciting when it's up in the air like that. Nothing's set in stone. So I think it's just going to come down to, yes, it's good to see him a week or two out or whatever, but, it doesn't really count to the day of the show. And then even the day of the show, of course, they do it over 2 days. Somebody could be looking great on that prejudging. Then the next day, you're like, oh, shit, he just lost it. So,
well, it's crazy. So, Dave, I've been keeping up with everything, but Andrew Jack, 20 more pounds.
Yeah, he made some insane strides, and I think he'll be even better than he was for the Olympia than he was for Texas when he won. So he's going to be very dangerous. It's what people don't realize is the lineup is essentially the same.
Yeah.
Ed Martin Fitzwater and Nick missed last year, but it's essentially the same. But what's happening is the guys are getting better. They're improving. So 3 years ago, they were the same guys, but now you got them 3 years later and they're that much better. So the lineup is better because of that. And so I think it's more exciting because we're seeing guys that are hitting their peak and their stride finally, and we're seeing them at their best, that they're going to be. And, that's what makes this Olympia, I think, probably one of the most anticipated best ones. And it's great because it's the 60th anniversary of the show. So,
and it would have been good to see Rami in it just for the simple fact that you got Derek, you got Hart and Brandon. So you got 3 Mr. Olympias who are going to be fighting it out for top 5 or 6 again. There'll be 3 Mr. Olympias who have held the title.
Dave, that's a really good point. Really good point. Really fast that you made, which is that there was like a kind of a new generation, this new era that kind of emerged a couple years ago. And we've seen them kind of all grow up together. And now we have this pack of really strong bodybuilders who have all improved together over time, which I agree, it makes it exciting.
Right. And some have improved a lot more than others. And I think that's why you're seeing placings flipping now, you know?
Totally.
And I think that's the thing. The only thing that I think could be the weakness for Hardy, because Hardy, I think he's probably tapped out as far as muscle he can put on. So conditioning is going to be his main key. Like, you know, when Dexter got to that point where we knew Dexter wasn't going to get any better, but when he hit his peak, he could still win shows. So I think with Hardy, that's where he's going to get left behind. Yes, his conditioning is going to be off the wall, but people like Andrew and Sampson and them are still improving, putting on size, where I think Hardy is pretty much sized out. So conditioning is going to be his strong point from this point on. The same thing I think happened to Bonnack. Bonnack still looks great, but I don't think Bonnack's going to improve, whereas these other guys are going to start moving away from Bonnack now as well. So,
well, that's a question for Dave, because like when you put on all the muscle you can possibly put on, where do you go from there when you don't have like the structure? Right?
Yeah. Well, everyone on the Olympia stage has structure, because you wouldn't make it to the Olympia stage without a beautiful structure.
You're right about that, but
what happens
is
things
of each other.
I think it's important to explain when a muscle grows. So it first grows outward. So let's take the bicep. So the bicep gets longer, and then when it can't get any longer, what does it start doing? It starts doing this, and it starts like convoluting on itself. Once it does that and gets that 3D look, we call that muscle maturity. And that happens over time. So when you first start putting size on, like an Andrew Jackson in a big frame, a Samson Dowda, you have to fill the muscle out first. Then once the muscle gets to its full size, it starts to convolute, and you start getting all these like interesting looking shapes. If you think Kai Green's body, Phil Heath's body, that cartoonish look to it, that doesn't happen right away. It takes time to get that. And that's once, again, we call that muscle maturity, but it's really the muscle continuing to grow, but it can't grow bigger anymore. So it's growing more convoluted on itself. And I think we're starting to see that with a lot of guys. They're getting that muscle mature look, and it's really more impressive on stage. You see it in the older guys, like Brandon Curry's got it really, really well. Nick Walker's starting to get that little bit more muscle maturity. Initially, he had a lot of size, but he didn't have the mature look to his physique. He's getting that. Andrew's still getting bigger. He just genetically has good separation in his muscle anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Hottie's getting that the more mature look to his physique, and Derek is still growing, and I think he'll start getting that muscle mature look too over the next 2-3 years, and that's when he's going to be the most unbeatable, I think.
Well, to kind of touch on the 212 division, I totally see what you're saying. Like with Sean Clarita and Keon Pearson, we saw Keon come out with this incredible structure. And I mean, it's going to be crazy to see what he brings this year, because Sean Clarita has always been, I mean, he's got so much muscle on his frame, and he continues to look more impressive, to your point, without necessarily putting on more size, because again, to your point, it's just getting rounder and fuller, harder, and it just continues to look more impressive in 3D on stage. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I happen to agree with Lee in this regard. I would like to see Keon Pearson and Sean Clarita do the open class at this point. I think they're good enough. Those guys, and I think it's a shame that they're holding themselves back, by not doing it.
A lot of people say that, but
I say get rid of it. And that upsets a few. But I'm like, listen, if you can't compete in the open, people are like, well, where would these people compete? Well, you're not good enough to be a pro if you can't stand on the open stage. I'm sorry. It's like, if you can't run 9 seconds something, you're not good enough to be in the finals at the Olympics. They're not going to make a 14-second class just for you so you can win a gold fucking medal. So if we make a 212, should we make a 180 for the people who can't get the 212? It's like, look at the champions now. Derek, Hardy, Florida's won some opens. All the guys up there have been 212. And to me, if he only had have won, say, 4, to me, Flex Lewis, he would have been a multiple 212, and he could have won the open. I believe Flex could have won the open at some point easy. Because look at him when he was like a couple of weeks out, when he was close to 220, full and hard. So to me, if you got rid of 212, people are still going to compete. I'd rather see him have like a 5'6", 5'7", and under and over.
Right.
That way,
a tall and short. I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. That way, if you are 5'6",
yeah.
you could still weigh 230 at 5'6" or something, or 5'5".
Maybe a little more aggressive.
Yeah, and then like the old days of Arnold and Franco, it was height classes, and then just for fun at the end, put the
overall.
Just,
well, Sean Clarita and Keon could definitely be competitive. But Lee, what was your highest weight on stage?
218 was my highest, but generally I stayed around the 06, between 06 and 08, that area.
And you would have done open? You wouldn't have done 212?
He only did open.
I know, but there wasn't a 212. Yeah.
No, I had no choice. But to me, if it was around, I might have done it once or twice. But then it's like, yes, it's good to win it. If you won the 212 Olympia, then you win it again. But to me, you're still competing with the same people. And that I'd rather be like, you know what, stuff being 212, let's push for something bigger, go and compete against the open guys, because that way it's more of a challenge.
You know what, Lee, you would never have done the 212 Olympia. You would have always kept doing the open Olympia.
I might have done
you would have
been
like, I don't want to
just to get one title.
you would have been like, I don't want to not do the open to do 212. If they would have let you do both, you would have done both, but I don't think that you would have given up the open.
People would get mad because when it was the 212s, and the majority of the people back then who did the 212s never did the open, and they're like, giant killers. I'm like, how can you call them a giant killer? They've killed no giants. I said, they're playing with the dwarfs. I actually went and stood with the giants. I slayed the giants.
You did.
David Henry won open classes. So,
yes.
Yeah, he did it. He legitimately did it.
And Dave still looks good. He still turns up.
And so did Sean Clarita did it. So.
I know, and Sean Clarita also entered the open when they didn't have the 212 at the Arnold. And he hung. I mean, he was right next to Hottie. I mean, not Hottie.
Well, Sean Clarita didn't look out of place.
Rami and Clarita.
Yeah, when Sean won against Sergio and Regan Grimes, he didn't look out of place standing there. The muscle, the way he was balanced, muscle. So, yeah, to me, like I said, I think the 212 or what, it was the 210, then the 202, then the 212. I think it served its purpose. But now I think just have just one class open bodybuilding, and that's it. If you're good enough, you're going to rise to the top. And I know some people say, well, if there's no 212, these guys would quit. No, you're not. If you love bodybuilding and you love competing, you ain't going to chuck it in just because there's no 212 class. Come on.
Well, look at our, we have Hottie and Derek.
Yeah.
They both came from 212. So it does seem like a natural progression for them to kind of move on up. So, yeah.
Not even Keon. Look at Keon. I think, if he finally goes open, I think, well, even now, I think if he was in condition, he could almost probably, with the way he's well balanced, he could probably be in the open top 10 now. So,
absolutely.
So,
Oh, yeah. You guys, I feel like I could talk to you forever, and your insight, everything that you offer is invaluable. And I appreciate you both so much.
She's talking to you, Dave. She's talking to you right now, not me.
Dave is going like, who is she talking to? I'm talking to you, Dave, and I'm talking to you, Lee. Yes.
I offer nothing of substance. I'm like that. Dave's like the good person on the show. I'm like, remember the Muppet Show, those two old guys up in the box? That's me, just sitting up in the box going.
Wendy, this is how pathetic he is. I tell him at the Arnold, I'm like, you want to go and do the wrap up of the finals when it's done? He's like, no, I'm going to be in my hotel eating room service and watching movies. He doesn't even watch the show when he goes to the show.
I go to the expo, see the fans, but once the sun goes down, I go lock myself away in the bedroom and just watch TV.
And have his McDonald's.
He travels 5,000 miles from Australia all the way to Columbus, Ohio, to watch movies in his hotel room.
That's at nighttime though, but during the day I'm at the expo meeting. Well, sometimes I do. Sometimes I will just go down in the lobby of the hotel and just hang out there to the fans.
Dave, we have a request for me to come on your show.
All right, we'll definitely bring you. I'll bring you on to talk about the women. How about that?
I'm just saying, Dave.
I can talk about the guys too. Hey, I can talk about the guys.
I was talking to Wendy before you. And I was saying, I don't think the WOLFpak's ever really had a regular woman on. Have they, like a regular woman?
I don't know. Do you think she can handle the likes of the
I think
people we have?
Lee knows me by now. I keep having him back. He knows I can hang. I can
You
handle
think he can
myself.
handle the Larrys and the Valentinos and all those?
You don't know me
people?
well enough yet.
Oh, maybe I should get to know you a little more. Yeah.
I can hang.
Don't let these little innocent, things sitting here lead you astray.
We have to do we have to get her on the show as like a test run to see if she can hang with the lunatics on there.
I'll get her on the confessions. If she can last through the confessions.
I got this. Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Well,
but Wendy,
now you can't back out. All right. So now you can't back out.
Don't join the show until after the Olympia because it might have.
Yeah, I'll get to the Olympia. Come on. Yeah, we'll make it work. Well, don't worry, guys. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys on the other side, but I want to tell everyone, thank you all for tuning in. I actually want to give you two the last words. So Lee, any last words for your fans, people watching? What would you like to say?
I don't know. Eat shit and die.
All right. Short and sweet. I like it.
That's my life philosophy.
My last words are: if anyone has anything nice to say about Lee, send them to me in PMs or emails. So when he passes next week of coronary artery blockage, I have some nice things to say in his eulogy about him. So
I really hope I do.
These final words are terrible.
I hope you feel so fucking
on a positive note.
If I drop dead next week,
on a positive note, Wendy, you're making us look very good. So you're very professional. You did a great job. Can I finish? I finish? I'm giving
you just said I'm going to die. I got to say what I got to say because I'm going to die.
Lee. Okay, I'm listening. Go for it.
Well, what this is, I just realized. This is an interview for you to replace me once I die next week.
Is Wendy your replacement? Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. We're a team, Lee. Come on.
Okay. If Lee drops dead, I will. Wendy, you can take his spot. I promise you. All right.
I'm going to stay up all week. I'm going to do like 50 videos this week. Send them to Dave, so when I'm gone, you can still play them.
The Lost Lee Priest files. I'll put them up. Yeah, I got a year's worth of content. I can
from the grave.
All right, so Lee, I'm listening to Dave. Go for it. We're giving our final words.
All right.
I just say, look, just enjoy it. If you're in bodybuilding, have fun. Don't take it serious. Because a lot of people out there are like, I want to be pro. I want to be Mr. Olympia. I always say, train hard, train smart, eat well. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But, we've all made the mistake when we were younger of putting all our eggs into one basket. But like I said, if you love bodybuilding, that's great. But also, you got to find that balance and have life, have friends, family. Because I've seen so many people give up friends, give up family, give up relationships, give up jobs because they're so focused on being a pro. So that's why I said, just enjoy it if you have fun doing it. And Dave knows, or anyone knows, we see those people when they train, if they're going to be pro, they're going to be pro. They just pick up a weight and they just see them go. So but the main thing is just have fun, just enjoy it. And what happens, happens. But yeah, just don't go crazy. Just be smart and safe with your training, with your nutrition, with the other supplements. If you're going to use them, don't abuse them. Just be smart and, do it safely. Because there's so much information out there now where you should be doing it safe. Like Dave preaches, get your blood work done, get your heart checked. And if you're like me, you find out you're going to fucking die, it's okay. But, at least I know I'm going to die now. It won't be such a shock when I go. So.
Oh, my God.
Between you, me, Jimmy the Bull, Greg, Armand, everyone, John, we're like all hypochondriacs. We're all in the emergency room all the time getting health checks. But you know what the truth is? What we all have in common? We're all alive. There's no such thing as getting too many tests done. There's no such thing as being too careful. You're better off if you feel something that doesn't feel right, you're better off getting it checked out. I always tell people, because you know what? It's the one time you don't get it checked out, you might check yourself out. So, you can't be too, I always say, have a blood pressure cuff, always hanging around. They're $8. You should buy one. Get a blood sugar monitor, check your blood sugars. Get your cardiac CT scan every couple of years. Get your colonoscopy when you turn 50. Just do all these things there's no reason that anyone should be dying of these things that can be easily diagnosed, on a simple diagnostic test. You know, granted, if you get something, you know, terrible that just, you know, you get run over by a car, you can't stop that. But at least you can say, I did everything I possibly can to prevent something terrible from happening that I didn't know was going on in my body. And, you know, ignorance is no excuse. And bodybuilders like to be ignorant because they don't want to know the truth, because they don't want to hear someone tell them, hey, you got to stop what you're doing. They don't want to hear that.
I think we've all been there. We've all been there when we were younger. We're like, I don't care if I die big, I'll die big. But then when you get to 30, you're like, I want to get to 40. I want to get to 50. It's like when you're younger, you didn't care. Now it's like, I want to get to 60. It's like,
Totally.
But those blood pressure things too, I'm not sure if you, Dave, I got one of those. For some reason, it's the same. Whenever I do my first reading, it must just because I put it on. As I put it on, I sit down, I'm like, think low, think low, think low. But as I'm thinking, you got
to do the opposite. Say, I think, I'm like, I got to think.
I know, because that's what I'm saying. Every time I think low.
You're going to say, I think high, and then you realize how that was going to sound before you said it.
No, you don't. You think like, what I say is, I think about running miles and jumping over trees. I do everything that you should not think, and it relaxes me.
And that's I think butterflies and waterfalls, and it goes up higher.
No, you can't, because what you're really doing is you're telling your brain, you're lying to yourself. You're saying, think butterflies, but you're really not thinking butterflies. You're thinking about what you shouldn't be thinking about. If you think about the things that you should think about, I mean, the things about make you crazy, it almost releases it from you, and it doesn't affect your blood sugar.
Butterflies, I think, oh, the poor things die in 3 or 4 days, and then my heart starts pumping more because the poor butterflies don't live very long.
Butterflies and rainbows. I learn something new about you every time, Lee. Every time.
Hey, does Lee, does Wendy know the thing about Greg?
The gallbladder.
What?
Did you know that Greg got his gallbladder taken out, Wendy?
No, I didn't.
I knew there was one person in this world who did not know, Lee.
How could you not? This was like a emergency operation. It was like crazy.
Oh my gosh! Why are you laughing?
Did you know he was diabetic?
Because it's been a running joke now.
Is he okay?
Ever since
did you know he had throat cancer too?
Yeah, throat cancer.
I get this. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
No,
this is true. We're not lying. You might be the only person in existence who doesn't know these things about Greg Valentino, though. And so we wanted to break Greg. Yeah, when we
travel with Greg and go places with Greg, and we go to restaurants with Greg, it's a running joke, because when Greg orders his food, he tells everybody how he had his gallbladder taken out and he had this. That's why he has to eat a certain way. The waitress is stuck there for 20 minutes getting the live story.
You're not following the channel, Wendy. Now I know.
I also talked to him, so I don't know. You know, I probably have heard that, but
he's very.
He probably assumed that you knew already. Yeah.
Or that probably, yes. Well,
Greg doesn't like to talk about it because it's very hurtful when he talks about losing his gallbladder. He doesn't like to talk about it too much.
Well, we'll talk. We'll have to bring him back, and I would love to have you guys both back. I absolutely love chatting with you. I love this conversation, and you're both amazing, so much fun, and thank you so much. And everybody watching, sorry, fly. I was like, everybody watching, don't go anywhere, guys, either. Everyone watching, thank you so much, and be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 5 o'clock. We'll have more exciting conversations just like this one, and I will see you guys on the flip side.